Voters are weighing in on several potential tax hikes. Measure E would raise the city of San Diego's sales tax from the lowest in the county to among the highest. Let's take a look at the early results here because they're close. San Diego's current sales tax rate, 7.75%. And if Measure E is approved, it would go up to 8.75. Right now, just a little bit of the vote in right here, but 51% say no to 49%. Higher tax is expected to generate a 20% increase for the city's general fund, which pays for things like police and firefighters, parks, libraries, other services. Opponents argue taxes are already too high. Let's take a look now at Measure G. This is the one that's dealing with the county. This would raise the sales tax by ½ cent across San Diego County. And the county estimates the ½ cent tax hike would raise $350 million each year to help pay for things like road repairs and expansions to bus and rail services. Opponents say it's not necessary because most people don't use public transit here in San Diego. So far, the yes votes have 47% and 53% are voting no so far. It'll be interesting to see. This is pretty close right now. Let's bring in our panel to discuss this because I think the big consideration right now is everyone has been talking about the cost of living. And are voters going to go for a sales tax increase? Give us your perspective first, Scott.
Well, we talked to voters all day today at the polling stations, and all of them almost talked about high rents, cost of living. I mean, we knew that was a big issue. We talked about it. We've done tons of journalism about it, but it really stood out as their top concern. Measure G is a great example. So in 2016, the last time Donald Trump won the presidency, the Sandag put up a measure to raise the sales tax the same amount. They needed 2/3 vote at that time. They got 58%. So now it's gone from 58% maybe to this below 50 right now. Now these two measures are the classic examples of this early vote needing to be patient with, because over the next few days there's going to be more votes. So we got to see where the trend is, because if it starts shortening, that Measure E in the city of San Diego could flip very easily. Measure G, though, that might be that 5-6% point where it's gone too far. So very interesting.
This is kind of a tough ask right now in the climate that we're in. Phil, what is your perspective? Was this too much to ask for voters at a time like this?
Yeah, this is just absolutely the worst time to ask for a hike in sales tax. I mean, you talk about how people are going to the grocery store, everything is going up, their gas is going up, their electricity is going up. And the last thing you want to put in front of voters is, hey, by the way, do you want your sales tax to go up as well? And I think something interesting is that an independent budget analysis showed that the city of San Diego is already $200 million in the red with their budget, and that this proposed sales tax increase would help cover that shortfall, and then the rest might go to infrastructure because it's going into the general fund. So I think voters might be a little skeptical of where are these taxes going, and should I trust our local government to actually spend it on infrastructure?
And James, something interesting here too. Mayor Todd Gloria, Council President Shanilo Rivera have kind of hung their hat on this measure passing to be able to accomplish some of these things. What happens? What's Plan B if this doesn't pass?
You know, I don't know what Plan B is going to be, but I'm going to tell you, if voters don't pass this, we're going to continue to be the little brother to LA and other major cities. The reality is it costs money now. It'll be cheaper now if we invest than 20 years from now. Because if we don't have the infrastructure, if we don't have the programmatic things that we need at the city, then the cost is just going to rise, continue to rise. And the reality is, big cities, you got to spend money to be a big city. I was in Seattle a couple years ago. The reality is they have transit. It's good transit. They spend on it. Yes, the taxes feel regressive, but at the same time, this is the opportunity to grow.
But I think that was the big problem with Measure G, is it wasn't even clear what kind of transit improvements it would provide. There's a lot of money set aside for the tunnel to the Del Mar Bluffs, where there's the problem with the erosion. That's hundreds of millions of dollars. That would just be a down payment on that project. There was a promise to get a trolley line from Otay Mesa up to Kearny Mesa, but that again was just barely a down payment on that, and it would be decades before you saw that realized. There was a good portion for roads and for highways, but it was never clear exactly what you would get out of this measure, and I think it's suffering because of it.
Well, I don't disagree. I mean, I think the reality is Sandag isn't always trusted right now, right? And if they were trusted to be able to do some of the work and get it done, but the reality is we need it, and maybe we just need different leadership or different work.
These aren't the two only sales tax measures. Chula Vista, Encinitas, Santee, Escondido, they all had it. And so it's kind of interesting to see which ones have more trust, right? Because Escondido, it's doing quite well. Encinitas, Chula Vista, it's doing quite well. Some of these places, Santee, it's not doing as well. The trust in some of these agencies and in Sandag is much different. And it's a perfect experiment, really, to see where trust is and where it's not.
Well, and in the city, or in the county rather, the city of San Diego has some of the lowest sales tax in the county. But if both of these measures pass, this could make our sales tax here in the city of San Diego one of the highest in the state.
Yeah.
And so what do we do to make some of these improvements without this supplemental income?
Nothing.
Stuff doesn't get done.
No,
is what you're saying.
I don't think that they're ever going to make up the difference without some kind of wholesale, change of how the city operates. The vast majority of the money goes to public safety and to police and fire, and that's not going to change. If anything, there's pressure to put more money into those things. They're never going to be able to bootstrap their way into making the big investments they need. Now, that said, they are going to start charging for trash collection at single-family homes. They've delayed the exact implementation of that till after this election. So we'll see. There's going to be more infusion of funds into the city of San Diego. But they had no plan to cover this deficit without this tax passing. So they are going to watch the counts on this one very closely.
But and I think to James' point, there is a plan B. A plan B is you got to look at your finances as a city and go, well, what are we doing here and how are we managing it? Mm-hmm. And I think to citizens, they go, well, I have to figure out what I'm doing to put food on the table every month. And the city's first and only solution is, well, let's just get more sales tax or get more tax revenue in. That's what I think plan B has to be. Now, when Todd Gloria gets reelected, which it looks like he's going to do, he might have to sit down and figure this out with the city council. How are we going to do this? And actually make those investments and improve the city without this sales tax.
And perhaps that would increase trust among the constituents.
Correct.
Okay, well, more to come on that as the numbers roll in. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll be checking in with you throughout the evening. Mark, let's send it back over to you.
And Sandy